Donald Trump and the other defendants have committed persistent and repeated fraud. Last week, we proved that in our motion for summary judgment. Today, we will prove our other claims. My message is simple. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law. And it is my responsibility and my duty and my job to enforce it. The law is both powerful and fragile. And today in court, we will prove our case.
Beneath all these questions, the question of mission creep has 6312 morphed into something that it was not meant to do.
All the defendants repeatedly violated.
Ms. Vail, can you identify any previous case in which the Attorney General sued under Executive Law 6312 to upset a private business transaction that was between equally sophisticated partners?
And it was using...
I'm sorry, but what's being described sounds an awful lot like a potential commercial dispute between private actors.
I mean, you've got two really sophisticated parties in which no one lost any money. The case that you cite involved where there was damage to consumers, damage to the marketplace. You've got a scheme to get unsophisticated consumers to take out home loans. You got a collapse of Lehman Brothers. You don't have anything like that here.
And that's something you must address, because there has to be some limitation on what the Attorney General can do in interfering in these private transactions, as Justice Friedman said, where people don't claim harm. So what is the limiting principle? The immense penalty in this case is troubling.
Do you guys want to know what's hilarious? New York Attorney General Letitia James, TDS James is what we call her. This woman swore up and down that Trump was a fraud, that she was going to bankrupt him, strip him of his buildings, take all his property, steal all his money, and parade his carcass down Fifth Avenue. Well, this didn't age well, because fast forward, and her $500 million fantasy judgment just got tossed out like last week's garbage. Donald Trump just keeps on winning, you guys. And Letitia James, she keeps on looking like the court gesture in her own circus. I told y'all this case was going to end up making this woman look like a fool. And man, listen, she's looking like a fool. So let's get into this.
Breaking news from the New York appeals panel. The massive civil fraud penalty against President Donald Trump has been thrown out. Doug Williams joins us live from the newsroom to break down the decision.
Cindy, this all stems from a lawsuit by New York State Attorney General Letitia James. It stood to cost the president more than $500 million. A five-judge panel took issue with the financial penalty part. However, other punishments still stand. AG James brought the case back in 2022 when President Trump was out of office. The state claimed Trump misrepresented the values of properties in his real estate empire, allegedly allowing Trump's companies to obtain favorable loans and insurance deals. Trump's lawyers have long argued the civil case was driven by politics, but New York Judge Arthur Engoron disagreed. In February of last year, he ordered Trump to pay the state back for what he called ill-gotten gains. But in today's ruling, Justice Peter Moulton wrote, quote, "While harm certainly occurred, it was not the cataclysmic harm that can justify a nearly $500 million award to the state. What still stands are the other punishments that were part of the case, including banning Trump and his two eldest sons from serving in corporate leadership for a few more years." We've reached out to Attorney General James and attorneys for President Trump, but so far we have not heard back. Cindy.
All right, Doug, thank you.
Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. On today's show, y'all, Donald Trump just he scored another massive W. He just keeps on winning. And Letitia James, she just got humiliated in broad daylight again. Now, do you guys remember when Letitia James got on camera, wagging her little chubby finger all in the camera, puffing out her chest, declaring that no one is above the law, right? Do y'all remember that? Y'all, she was big, and she was mad, and she was big and bad back then. But now, well, actually, she's still big. But the decision that just came down from the appeals court is bad, well, at least for her. So Letitia James promised that she was going to prove that Donald Trump had committed this persistent fraud and that she was going to hit him with a $500 million fine. Y'all, that's $500 million. That's a lot of freaking money. And this woman, she came after him like a political assassin, not like an attorney general seeking justice, but an assassin. Well, the Court of Appeals, y'all, they just handed her a check. A reality check, that is, not a real check. This is just a wake-up call. Basically, the Court of Appeals, they ruled that that penalty was excessive. And they also advised that this penalty, excessive as it was, violated the Eighth Amendment. Now, the Eighth Amendment, that is the amendment that talks about cruel and unusual punishment, that we cannot do that. And so it's not that Big Tish cares anything about the Constitution, but basically the court is telling Letitia James that, ma'am, we see you. We see what you were trying to do. You were trying to financially crucify and bankrupt Donald Trump when there was no victim, there are no damages. You didn't have anything except the wickedness in your heart and the Trump derangement to match. That's all that she had. But do you guys want to know why? Why does all of this matter? Like, why is this important? Well, this matters because none of this was ever about protecting consumers or correcting fraud in the marketplace. The banks, by their own admission, they're like, listen, we made money. Trump paid back the loans. Everyone walked away with profit and agreed to do business together again in the future. But this and all of these other cases of lawfare that these people were enacting against Donald Trump, this was about using the power of the state to go after a man that the Democrats hate and fear, and that is Donald J. Trump. These people absolutely hate and despise him, and it's not because his policies are unlawful or unconstitutional or are un-American. It is because he represents an outsider tearing down the establishment. It's lawfare, plain and simple. And so when the courts slapped down Letitia's penalty, they basically exposed the game, right? The appeals court, they just let all of the American people know that Tish James, what she tried to do was nothing more than vengeance dressed up in pages of legal jargon. We all saw it from a mile away, and now the appeals court has agreed that this was excessive. But what makes this decision so much more glorious is that Letitia James, she's now the one crying political retribution. And it's because now Donald Trump's Department of Justice, they are investigating her. And I don't understand why she's shocked or confused, because this is the woman who spent years weaponizing her office to target Donald Trump, literally campaigning on it. And now you're shocked that the spotlight is on you? No, ma'am. Galatians 6:7 still applies. You reap what you sow. Okay? This case proves what us conservatives have been saying all along. And that's that Democrats, they love to scream that nobody is above the law. But what they really mean is that nobody they hate is above the law. Their side will get a pass while they throw the book at their enemies. But here's the thing. Y'all, Donald Trump keeps walking out of the fire unscathed. And all this is doing is driving all of these popes of perdition insane. They are crashing out and they don't know what to do with themselves. So Letitia James, basically, she tried to end Donald Trump's career and bankrupt him. But instead, all she really did was just strengthen the 2028 campaign narrative. And so we thank you. The American people thank you, Letitia James. If we haven't learned anything else from Donald Trump, we have learned that Trump is a fighter. He is a survivor. And love him or hate him, he is going to fight until the end. And so with every bogus case that falls apart, The American people are waking up to the Democrats' political witch hunts, and that is why their approval rating is in the toilet. These people hate America, and they hate you. And now that they are losing power, they're crashing out and they are destroying themselves in the process. And the polls are showing you that this is the case. But I am curious to know, what do you guys think? Like, was this ruling a huge body blow, right, to Letitia James? Or is she going to double down on her obsession and just hang herself with the hatred in her heart against Donald Trump? I want you guys to let me know your thoughts. Leave it down below in the comments. Hit the like button. That really helps the channel out a lot. And don't forget, share this episode. I want you also to join me over on Patreon. We have our own little community over there, and it's just another way for you to support the work that I'm doing over here on Unshakable. So until next time, you guys, stay bold, stay biblical, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace.